Welcome to the Do It Anyway podcast. I'm your host, Maria Redmond, here to take you down this wild, wild trip of all things fitness, nutrition, wellness, and everything in between. I want to welcome everyone to episode 22 today. Man, we are really, really growing. It has been a wild ride thus far, and I want to thank each and every one of you that has been on this journey with me and have subscribed to the channel and listened to the podcast. I really, really do appreciate you. I think we're up to 535 subscribers right now, and it's doing really well. It's growing exactly the way that I wanted it to grow. So thank you, everyone. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're listening and watching on YouTube, and also please feel free to share the video. In addition, you can find this podcast on Spotify and Applecast. So, with that, episode 22. Um, I want to talk today a little bit about mental health. Um, it's definitely a popular thing. You know, we have a lot of people suffering with mental health, and I really just felt like maybe wanted to give everyone an opportunity to find out some ways to deal with mental health if you're not getting any type of therapy. Maybe you can't afford to go to a therapist, right? And you kind of feel stuck. So I wanted to kind of just sit down and think through some things that can help you improve your mental health. And so I came up with 10 things, and we're going to go over them today. Before I get into the weeds with those, I do want to say this. If you're struggling with mental health, you're not alone. And I think, each and every one of us have had moments where we've, had some struggles with how we're feeling, temporary depression. If you're a new mom, you're going through this right now, I say this quite often. When you become a mother, you die. You die twice, right? You lose yourself, you die. You're no longer your name. You're now a mom, and you have these kids, and like all your hopes, your dreams, they kind of get pushed aside. So with that comes a lot of depression. We typically call it postpartum depression, but this can really stay and linger for years after your kids have been born. So just know that you're not alone, and that there are many, many other women going through the same exact feelings. And um, there's ways to kind of battle and navigate that space. So, with that, let's get into it. The first thing that I like to recommend if you're dealing with anything mental health wise is prioritize your sleep. I can't say this enough. Sleep is really for all things health, wellness, all of it. Sleep is when our bodies recharge. That is literally when your battery is being plugged into the wall, so to speak, and getting all the electricity to repair skin cells, muscle, gut cell turnover. I mean, it's just huge. Your brain is getting the reset. So you want to prioritize sleep and good quality sleep. If you are not setting the tone to get into bed at certain time every night, I want you to start to create a schedule. If 10 o'clock is the time you need to be in bed in order to get a good 7 to 8 hours before your next day, whether you have to go to work or whatever your next day looks like, start to do things to prioritize that and make the room ready. Like, for me personally, I like to light incense. So I have different, scents of incense going in my room. I try to light them like 30 to 45 minutes prior to me going to bed. Um, I have a dimmer in my room so I can set my lights really, really low and nice and dim. I also have a very expensive but very good bed. If you can afford this bed, this is the one to get. It's called a Sleep 8 bed. This bed has a cooling feature to it. It's almost like they use the technology that they would use in an ice skating rink, and that's how it cools the bed. So same premise, you pour water into a little bucket that's on the side of your bed, and it cools the bed off. So it gets your body temperature right where it needs to be. Extremely comfortable bed. I love that. I cannot speak highly enough of this type of bed. But making sure you're on a good bed. You don't have to get that bed, but make sure you get a really good bed. If you can't afford to buy a new mattress, there are all type of mattress toppers that you can purchase that are really inexpensive. If you're a person that overheats at night, that can also compromise your sleep. Go ahead and get, a cooling mattress topper. They sell those. You can get cooling pillows now. I mean, it's a wealth of things that you can purchase that are going to be cost effective. So prioritize your sleep. Try to get 7 to 9 hours each night. There's some people that don't require as much, like myself, but make sure that your sleep is going to be good quality sleep. That is going to be the first key to starting off your brain, right? So when you wake up in the morning, you already know if you are not well rested, you're behind the eight ball. Like it seems like everything goes wrong that day, or you're overly stressed that whole entire day because you're exhausted, you're tired. So, sleep is number one. Number two, practice getting away from your phone. That is really like the biggest key, I think, with mental health. Not only close to bed. Now, definitely you want to stop using your phone about 45 minutes before bed because of the blue light that's coming off of it. But social media, let's talk about it, right? It's a thing. If you if you don't understand social media, I'm not a big social media buff, but let me explain the algorithm. The more things that you like is the more things that you're going to see. So let's say you hear someone talking about depression and you kind of resonated with whatever they were saying on depression or mental health. They're on there crying and they're sharing their story and you liked it. And maybe you even commented on it. Now you were trying to be empathetic, et cetera, let that person know that you're being supportive of them. And that's great. But now what the algorithm does is they start sending you more of these same types of posts. And you are sitting there in your own stew of depression or whatever you have going on. And now all you're doing is feeding your brain more negative things to reinforce how you're feeling. So you have to be very, very mindful. If you are going to be a person that watches a lot of or absorbs a lot of social media, make sure you're picking a lot of uplifting things, or if you're a religious person, a lot of scripture, anything that's going to make you feel better. Try not to like the negative things. Scoot right past those as fast as possible. But honestly, this is just my personal opinion. I think that if you are dealing with serious mental health issues where you feel like you don't want to be here, um, and you feel like you're alone, the last thing that you need is social media. I think that you need to come off of it completely and start doing what my next tip is: true social connection with real people. Um, I am not a highly social person. I do not go out to clubs and bars and all that stuff. I really don't do any of that. My social space, honestly, is going to be in any type of fitness realm. So if I'm, training with my team for triathlons, or if I'm at the gym, that's about the bulk of my social interaction with people that I know and I like. Or I come here to Podcast Junkies to get what I call my Benny fix. I love my producer Ben. We are really close, and it's really good social time for me that's meaningful. And honestly, the hour or a couple of hours, honestly,
I was gonna say.
we burn it up in here, that we spend together really does fuel me throughout the week. And I have another friend, Mick. Her and I spend great time together, and it's true social interaction to where I don't really feel the need to have to go searching for things on social media to kind of just doom scroll and look at. And I feel fulfilled because I have conversations that are meaningful to me, that are educational or motivational. It covers the gambit, or just really good laughter, right? So I think honestly, that is what we're missing quite a bit in our lives. Everyone, it's called social media, but we're not really social if you think about it. I mean, we're just liking pictures and scrolling. So come off of social media if you're dealing with that, and try to find a social place to get into. Um, whether it's like maybe not a bar, but maybe a coffee, coffee and treats type of a place, just to meet new people, library, or start going to like festivals, things of that nature. But I think all of us honestly would do some justice to unplug from our phones. For me personally, I've shared this before. I think people think I'm on social media more than I am, but I use a program to upload videos for the most part. I only have an hour and a half scheduled on my phone for social media time for the week, literally for the week. So once that timer that I set up goes off, I'm locked out of Facebook, I'm locked out of TikTok, and I'm locked out of Instagram. So there's no getting on it until the next week starts. So you don't have to set it to an hour and a half. That's just what I set it to. But start using your technology to help improve your life versus hurt your life. So maybe setting some boundaries there to say, okay, I've done my social media time. I'm over it. I'm moving on. And what you can do for next tip instead, like I said, one, social interaction, but let's start getting to the crux of the issue. If you can't afford to go to therapy and you're dealing with some stuff, let me be the first person to tell you, you really don't have to go to a therapist. Most therapists are just going to come and ask you a question that's thought provoking, and they shut up and they just listen. Really, you're just paying for someone to listen. And they may offer some perspective or some insight, but they really have you backtrack into the solution. And I don't think many people, when they're in therapy, even realize that that's what's happening. The therapist is just helping you walk a track to get to the end, to get you to, one, acknowledge and figure out what the issue is and accept that this is the issue. And two, you lead yourself down the path to the solution. It takes some people longer than others, of course, but really that's all that's happening in therapy. So if you can't afford to go that route, then I suggest you start journaling. But really it's just you and your journal. So you need to start asking yourself the difficult questions. Why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? Or why am I doing the things that I am doing? Does this come from anything that's happened in my past, i.e. my childhood? Trauma is a big buzzword, but I think we've all had trauma. So, was it really as traumatic? Or am I using this as a crutch because not feeling good is comfortable for me? Am I more comfortable feeling sad than I am feeling happy? That's a real thing. Some people are so comfortable in the midst of the goo that they just can't accept feeling happy, or they're scared of what that may feel like. So start exploring and asking yourself the difficult questions in your journal and start honestly answering them. You will be so surprised, so surprised. You keep doing that for a few months at how much you're going to learn about yourself, which is going to be critical to helping you get out of that mental state, because now you can start finding solutions. So what's the solution to the problem? Now you can figure it out. I see this a lot when it comes to people in relationships that they know are toxic, but they don't want to let them go for whatever reason. Trust me, I was right in the midst of one. Toxic as all get out and could not figure out, was making excuses on why I should stay. Oh, my children. Oh, what will he do without me? I don't want him to be alone. Oh, I'm getting older. I don't know if I really want to be alone because then I'd have to start all over again. And I'm too old for that. I mean, you name it, I was making all of the excuses. But really, to be honest, at the end of the day, the real reason was I was comfortable being in something toxic because that's what I watched at home growing up. My household at times with my parents, my dad's drinking was toxic, and it was familiar to me. And so I was holding on to that because it was familiar to me. And I had to come to a rationalization and realize, no, this is not healthy for me. I am not happy. And all the excuses that I had, especially the things like I'm older. Well, if I keep staying in this toxic thing, I'm still getting older. So how much older do I want to become before I cut this off and get out of it and maybe still have some semblance of a life? So I urge you to really just get to the crux of the issue. Be honest with it, confront it head on, and then find a solution. And once you get to the solution and you execute the solution, drop it, let it go, move on. It no longer exists. Don't let it linger. Don't keep lamenting over it. Move on. Because honestly, a lot of us are dealing with issues that You can't go back and fix. It's what's done is done. You're harboring hurt feelings and poisoning yourself because, especially if it's someone else that harmed you, they've moved on with their life. They're fine. They're well adjusted. They're not even probably thinking about you. And here it is, you're holding on to all the hurt and bottled up and making your life miserable. And you can't do anything to fix it. So it's easier to confront it, acknowledge the feelings. I want you guys to start acknowledging the feelings and then say, you know what? I'm done with this emotion. I've spent enough time dating it. I'm breaking up with it. Toss it in the garbage and move on with life. So, journaling, really getting to know yourself, I think is going to be another critical step in helping with your mental health. So, that's tip number 4. Another tip, this is really huge, and I personally utilized this quite a bit when I was going through my divorce. Um, Exercise. I know this is a fitness channel, but I'm I'm not trying to say this so you can just, try to be working out to work out, but exercise has been scientifically proven to help with mental health conditions because it boosts the brain, endorphins, etc. When I go to the gym, I train very, very hard almost 99% of the time that I'm there. If I'm having an off day, it's really rare. And I'm not training that hard for aesthetics. I stopped training for aesthetics about 2 years ago, to be honest. I now train for my mental health. I take whatever stress I have, whatever drama is going on in my life, or whatever emotions I have, and that is where I go to do my emotional dumping. I'm thinking about the problem. I'm addressing the problem as if I was journaling, except for journaling, I'm lifting weights. And then by the time I get to the end of my workout, I always say this. So, what's the solution? We can't leave here. You have to have a solution. I pick my solution and then I move forward from it. And then I'm done with that for the day. And so that's where I'm going. I go to the gym to exercise to get that full recharge. And after I'm done with all of that mental dumping, not only do I feel great because that whatever issues I had on my chest are now gone, but I also feel invigorated because I just killed a damn workout. I'm good and sweaty. I feel very accomplished, and my body does get a benefit from it, right? My aesthetics. So I'm killing a lot of birds with one stone. And so if you don't exercise, use this as your opportunity to get into the gym and start exercising or take a spin class, Zumba, whatever it is, but some type of a physical activity. Going to a class would be great because if you also don't have a lot of in person social interaction, this would be a great way to meet other people, right? So consider that, utilize that. I think that that would really work for you. I know for me, it does wonders, and I love what the gym does for me mentally. Like, there's nothing like it. So, um, next thing, this is also huge. Can't stress this enough. I've talked about this in other podcasts. There is a direct correlation between nutrition and your brain. It's irrefutable now at this point. So if you are dealing with mental health issues, you need to definitely start to remove all the bad things from your diet. I would start first with moving highly processed items and high sugar items first. Start there because you need to start slow. I always tell people do not do too much too fast too soon because your brain can't handle it. This is exactly why people's, you know, New Year's resolutions don't last. They try to change too many variables all at once, and your brain is like, nah, too much for me. So start with just, high processed foods and high sugary foods because those have a direct correlation to brain health. Take those out, see how you feel, and then slowly start, after you start feeling better, slowly start working on removing other things that are not good for you and incorporating foods, fruits and vegetables, high antioxidants into your nutrition so that you can start feeling a whole lot better. Nutrition is going to be the king of the castle, our castle, so to speak, for almost everything because that's the one thing that we do each and every single day without fail. And that's why nutrition is such a large piece. You have to eat. And so what you put into your body really, really does matter. So if you're struggling there, definitely start eating a well-balanced diet, taking multivitamins if you're not taking that. But again, do it in stages. Start with the worst things first and then kind of go up the ladder there. Um, Next thing, I think that this is huge, and I've been doing like a little bit of a quiet study on clients and talking to them without them realizing that I'm gathering information. Sorry, guys, I've been gathering information. But I've noticed that once we get past like age 25, once you're married, once you have kids, we tend to stop doing the things that we were interested in or that we really, really loved. We just kind of life, right? We always have this saying, life happens. So we cut those things out. If you are dealing with mental health, I think that this is a variable that also is playing a role. You've been wifing or being a husband, you're now a parent. And we all had these burning desires to do these fantastic things when we were growing up. And now you're looking at your family every day and you're like, ugh, I just want to sit in a room alone and just be able to breathe. Well, really, what you're saying, if you think about it, is I really just want to go do what the hell I want to go do today. Today, I want to go paddleboarding, or I want to go throw, axe hammers, whatever the case may be. There's things that you wanted to do that you just stopped doing because life happens. I think you should take 1 to 2 days out of the month to start. I know finances may play a role for whatever your activity is, but get back to doing some of the things that you love. I mean, heck, it could be something as simple as reading a real book instead of listening to audiobooks. I'm an avid reader. I love to read. Sometimes I don't have time to crack open that book, so I've kind of resorted to audiobooks lately. And eh, it's kind of the same, but there's nothing like the smell of a book and pages and dog earing a page, getting curled up under a blanket, etc., etc. So I do miss reading books sometimes, but honestly, now I do have some time, I guess, kind of in my schedule to read some books. But find time, carve out time, talk to your family. And I think this is another piece of it, starting to set boundaries with our family. Like for me, when I wanted to get back into fitness, I set the boundary and said, I need 2 hours every day to work out, period. Don't call me, don't text me, don't write me. If the house is on fire, call the fire department. If someone gets killed, call the police. I can't fix it at that point anyway. So don't call me. I think that we all need to start learning to set firm boundaries with our families, and our friends, to say, hey, I need time alone for myself to pour into me, because if you don't pour into yourself, you're not pouring into other people anyway. And I think that's creating a lot of the stress and the strain and mental health issues, because some of us are trying to be everything to everybody and we're neglecting ourselves. And then when we feel downtrodden, weak, and broken, no one else is looking for you. And that can be very, very upsetting and frustrating. So set boundaries and carve out time for yourself and stick to them. I have some clients that are on my plan. All that's on their schedule for that day is not a workout. It's called self-care day. I don't care what they do, but they have an hour worth of time set aside that they have to do self-care. And you can't say that, oh, I don't have time to do it, because if I'd put a workout on there, you would have done it anyway. So self-care that's what that's for. And it's worked tremendously well in my practice with clients. They are really taking time to carve out for themselves. I have a lot of moms that are saying, wow, I really feel so much better, when you tell me to carve out time. So carve out time for yourself. It's important that you pour into you so you can pour into others. So carve out some time for yourself. Um, Another thing that you can do, I meditate each and every single day. I don't miss my meditation. It's just a thing that I love to do. I know for some of you it's going to sound a little woo woo and a little out there, but I want to implore you, just give it a try. SoundCloud has some great like daily meditations. They're like 5 to 10 minutes. You can go longer, but you can start there, and they're guided meditations. So give it a try. I'm going to tell you right now, the first meditation, the first 5 meditations, because this is what no one tells you, the real deal. The first 5 meditations, you're going to be itchy. You're going to hear the garbage truck, dogs barking, things that you never paid attention before in the past. You will all of a sudden hear. Um, it might be the smoke detector starting to chirp. It's weird. It's as soon as you say you're going to get silent, you really start to hear everything. And that's okay. That's good. That's letting you know that, I used to think it was a bad thing in the beginning, and someone said, "No, that's good. That means that you're becoming aware of the environment that you're in, that normally on any regular day you wouldn't even hear those noises anymore because you block them out." And I was like, I never thought about that. Like, I never hear the garbage truck, because we hear it so much, it just becomes one of those sounds that you absorb and no longer register in your brain. So that's how it's going to start. Scratch, itch, whatever. Just keep your eyes closed. Try not to fall asleep, because that's not meditation, that's taking a nap. But if you need to nap, then take a nap, whatever. But give it a try. Give it a 2-week try. At the end of 2 weeks, if you just feel like you can't get into a good groove with it, then okay, it's not for you. Then, move on, let it go. But meditation is a great stress reliever. Um, it can take you into some deep places of your mind. I'm not quite sure how to verbalize it, but it really takes you inside yourself. You'll know when you're there when you do it long enough and you get there. It's a real thing. I used to think that people were crazy when I heard them say it, but now I'm such a good meditator that I can really go in deep. So give it a try. Very, very stress relieving. Um, Another thing that I really like to do also when I'm meditating is set up a lot of like really good smelly candles. So I don't do the incense. Incense is for bedtime for me, but some really great smells while I'm meditating. I like to kind of take that in. There was one time that I was purchasing certain candles and envisioning myself in whatever made up place that would have that scent of the candle in it. So candles, can do it. Guys, don't feel like it's too girly. You can do this too. So that's another tip. Last tip is another one that I think is great. I think in life we get, sorry guys, my phone is going off. I should have silenced it. So that's what you're hearing. I'm just going to keep it real on this podcast. Sorry, this is my phone. It is what it is. Um, so the last one, I think this becomes a really big deal because we live in a society where there are all of these milestones, right? Like these perceived milestones. You need to be married by this age, you need to have a house by this age, and your career by this age. And I think a lot of people collectively are suffering from mental health issues because they feel like they are missing the mark in life. Like you go, and then again, you go on social media and you see a 20-year-old that is sprawled out on top of a Lambo, wow, living life, and like, I'm balling until I fall or whatever. And you're like 40 and you're like, oh my gosh, I do not have my stuff together. You have to stop. There is no time frame to success, and success will look different for all of us. You've got to stop comparing yourself to other people. That's first and foremost. I'm going to be the first person to tell you, a lot of the people rent those things. They are props. They are not real items. So there's that's happening on social media. I've had family members that have rented items to take fabulous photos with, and people thought it was their stuff too. So I know that this stuff happens for a fact. So that's number one. But number two, if you're a person that's really trying to like get yourself out of whatever financial space or career, you don't like your career, start setting goals. You can't keep saying, I want to be successful. It does not work that way. It took me a little bit in the beginning of my life to figure this out. You really do need to physically take time, think about what your goals are, write them down, and then make a strategic plan to get to these goals. Take bodybuilding, for instance. You can never just say, I'm going to prep for a show. You have to label that thing out in phases to get to the goal. To get to stage, there's a lot of phases, and you really have to be meticulous in writing it out. Now, maybe a lot of competitors aren't doing that because they have a coach that is super meticulous. I have notebooks on every single one of my clients. Now, their programs are online, but I have a personal notebook for every single client that I go to because I know what their goal is. I'm constantly referring back to the goal, and then I am setting up a strategic plan so that I can get them to that goal. Now, what they see on their side is just reps and sets and run here for this long, etc. But on my side, I'm doing a lot of planning so that I can get them to that goal, or they'll never make it. They'll never reach any goals. So set realistic goals, make them short and concise so that you can reach it. And that'll give you more confidence once you reach one goal to set the next goal and the next goal and do that. But don't get so caught up in what everyone else has and what everyone else is doing. In life, you have to run your own race. You know, I'm starting this podcast just because I wanted to have something different to do. And I felt like I really do have a message to share. And it is easy in podcast land to start looking at other people's podcasts and how many views they have and be like, oh my gosh, I don't have that many views. Maybe my podcast is no good, yada, yada, yada. I mean, it would be easy for me to do that. But honestly, I set my goal. My goal was actually very, very small. I said, I just want to grow my channel by 10 people. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but just to know that you have a possibility of having influence with 10 people, that's a huge responsibility. And I don't know if a lot of other podcasters even think about what their responsibility is when they have millions of subscribers and viewers and all of that. That's a huge responsibility that I do not take lightly. And I am sharing, information with you all to help better yourself. I want that information to be real. I want it to be good and I want it to be helpful. So, in order for me to do that, I need to take my time and grow it because I respect people that are coming to watch me. I want to make sure that I'm doing them a service. So, I can't be worried about what everybody else's podcast is doing. I'm going to stay in my lane. And if it takes me, however long for it to grow, growth is growth. Growth by 1, growth by 10, it's still growth all the same. It makes me happy. It makes me fulfilled. And so that's kind of how I think about it. But I just set those goals and they're little mini goals for me. They're very just tiny goals. And thus far, I've hit those goals and it makes me happy and it gives me the energy and the strength to want to keep coming in here and share information with you all and help you all. So do that, set those goals. It really, really does help with your mental, health because just I don't struggle with mental health things at this point in my life right now, thank God. But knowing that I have this show to come to every single week and share bits of myself with and the information and my knowledge that I have with you all, it makes me feel good. And when you guys leave your comments, I love them. I read them all. I'm going to be replying to comments this weekend. So if you haven't gotten a reply, just know that I'm going to reply because that's my goal. That's a goal that I set to make sure that I engage with you all. And if you are watching this and you're like, well, this is really only the only social interaction that you're getting, please leave a comment so I can socially interact with you. That would be wonderful. Anything that I can do to help that. So, with that being said, I want you guys to really work on mental health, and it's a constant thing, right? Like you'll always have ebbs and flows in life, peaks and valleys, and that's what I want you guys to understand. When you're up, it's great, you're up. But just know that there's going to be, the valley coming too, and prepare yourself for the valley. Um, don't take life so serious. Uh, Tomorrow's going to come with or without you. So do your best to be a part of it. Be more grateful for all the things that you have. The ability to even have a phone to watch your YouTube or a computer, wherever you're going to watch or listen to this podcast. Be grateful to know that you have the device to listen to people on. Find the beauty in life. Take walks outside, reconnect with nature. I think we don't do enough of that to see the beauty of the world. We get too crammed inside looking at, you know, TV screens and phone screens and seeing everything that is wrong with the world. And that can put you in a really stinky mood. So find ways to get out of that. And if you're really struggling and you just really can't get yourself out of a funk, go and get some help. There's BetterHelp, which is online. That platform is blowing up. I do hear that they're pretty cost effective and it has a very high success rate. So if all of the tips, all else fails, go and seek some help or phone a friend, a real friend that is just going to listen. Sometimes if you're that friend that's getting the call, shut your mouth. Don't give your advice. Just let that person be heard. That's super duper important. So with that, I'm going to close out episode 22 on 10 tips to improve your mental health. I hope that this is going to be helpful for anyone out there. If it is, drop me a comment, share some love, share this video with anyone who may be struggling. And with that, be sure to continue watching on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. And if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. And I appreciate you guys. I will see you next week for episode 23. Peace. Thank you.